Thanks for the visit.
What instrument? Violin? Wall? Yellow. What? Blue. Okay, you guys are playing today. How did I know they were musicians? You're amazing.
Oh, wait a second.
Thank you.
That's not wrong. Sit with all the love. Sit with all the love. But sit, and we're going to get
Jackie likes to sit where there's an aisle seat.
We'll make it work. This coming year,
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everybody. I see that there are a lot of faces here of people I have not necessarily met before tonight. So before we actually begin the service, I'd like to say a little bit about our prayer book. So if you open to page 120, which is going to be our first page to open to anyway, the book actually works with the facing pages. So 120 and 121 work together. And for those of you who read Hebrew, you can see where the Hebrew is. For those who don't read Hebrew, you can also see where the Hebrew is, because that's what you can't read. Next to the Hebrew is what we call transliteration. Transliteration is the Hebrew prayer in English letters. Below the Hebrew and the transliteration is a translation of the prayer. And then on the facing page, there are readings, 1 or 2 on most pages, that are prayers that take one of the ideas of the prayer itself and adds to it, and it's a creative way of expressing the same thoughts. Generally, we only read one of those sections and then we turn the page. If we're only turning one page at a time, we often don't announce it, but if we turn more than one page, we do. So if we finish a paragraph and we start reading something and you don't see it, just turn the page. We encourage you to participate as much as you feel comfortable participating, and Hebrew, English, singing. The singing, of course, if you know the words, that helps. If you don't know the words, you can hum along, you can sing la la. But as I will say, and I'll say it again tomorrow morning, please do not accompany the music with anything electronic or digital that is in your pocket or pocketbooks. So make sure there is no musical accompaniment during the service. Thank you very much. So now we're going to begin our service on page 120, 121 with the kindling of the Shabbat candles. I invite up Jason and Tisha to light the candles.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We turn now to page 123, and I invite up Caleb and Ava to lead us in Kiddush. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho, yahava uvratzon, hinchilanu zikaron ma'aseh Bereshit, ki hu yom tefillah l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu b'charta, v'yatanu kidashta, v'kohamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahavat uvratzon, inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh Hashabbat. Amen.
Please be seated. We'll turn to page 126 and we'll read together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. We'll turn now to page 129 and continue with the singing of Ki Eshmerah Shabbat.
Ki Eshmerah Shabbat, Eli Yashmireni. Ki Eshmerah Shabbat, Eli Yashmireni. Oti le'olam yad beino u'beini. Oti le'olam yad beino u'beini. Ki eshmerah Shabbat, Eli yishmereni. Ki eshmerah Shabbat, Eli yishmereni.
Before we continue, I'd like everybody to turn to somebody, perhaps somebody they don't know, preferably somebody you don't know. Introduce yourself, greet them with a Shabbat Shalom. Tell them if you're a member or a visitor, just greet somebody. So now after the service, you'll have somebody else to talk to. So nobody should stand alone at the Oneg after the service because they have a new friend. We'll turn now to page 142 and we'll continue with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Kashrei, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boichem lishalom, malachei shalom, malachei
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash merabah. Ve'amad yiberach hirutei ve'emlich malchutei. בחייך יומך ובחייך בית ישראל בעגלה
ובזמן קריב
ויאמרו יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם עולם מעלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרמה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונהמתה לאמירן בעלמה ויאמרו.
We turn now to 146 as we rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma potech sha'arim uvitmuna mishanei itim umachalif et azmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or Ma'avir yom u'mevi laila, u'mavdil ben yom u'ben laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ma'ariv aravim. 151. Together, as you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. You mean to struggle for me too. Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand. Give me eyes to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai.
Seated.
ואהבת אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושינתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וכשרתם לאות עבדך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבת על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 157. Responsively, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and peace. Then shall we rejoice as the wicked, singing on the shores of the sea.
חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גר ישראל.
161 together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We'll continue with Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת
Turn now to page 164 as we rise for the tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tifta ufia b'tefillah. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Yimoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Gonei HaKol, V'Zocher Vastei Avot V'Imachot, U'Mevi Yehulah, Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל עדה, רב ותושיע, מוריד הטל, מחלקל חיים בחסד, וחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי כמלך, מלך ממית ומקיים, ומצמיח ישועה. למען אתה להיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל.
Continuing together on page 170. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kadoshim b'kol yom yehallelujah selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. As we continue together on page 173, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Ratzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, u'tfilatam be'ahavat tikabel, u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha be'yirah na'amod.
Moidim אנחנו לך, moidim אנחנו לך, שאתה אדוני
O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lahodot.
Shalom Raham Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Raham Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atam melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atam melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Ra'am Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Ra'am Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Ra'am Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Ra'am Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
We take a few moments, each of us, all of us, for silence, for prayer, for meditation. Those of us who have worshiped together before have perhaps heard me say that on Shabbat we are blessed with a double dose, as it were, of our neshama, of our soul, of that essence of what makes us us, that part of us that is God-given, and we are taught that everything, therefore, should be doubly as good. And you're maybe thinking double, not quite the way I'm thinking double. We know that things are supposed to taste twice as good, that they're supposed to feel twice as good, that they're supposed to be experienced twice as much, as deeply, as richly, as beautifully, that we are to appreciate and have gratitude twice as much on this Shabbat. You perhaps sometimes have that de facto, but tonight we are twice blessed, not only on the eve of your becoming B'nai Mitzvah, but on the day in which Adam de Shriver joins our community formally as a member of the Jewish community. Adam, please, would you join us? We are hoping that it is twice as good for you today as well, and that the beauty and the wonder and the mystery that awaits you as you continue your path into Judaism, as you formalize your entrance into the Jewish community, is twice the delight, twice the wonder, that you have enough of what you can best offer with the integrity that makes you uniquely you, that brought you to this path, surrounded by those who love you most and who know you best and who have been a part of that pathway. We hope that the beauty of this particular Shabbat rests in your heart and in this doubling of your soul, in this moment of this particular Shabbat, that you know that you are blessed, that you are loved, that we are hoping for great things for you in this community, and we ask God's blessing as we say, Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, hu yivarech et achinu. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless Yaakov ben Avraham v'Sarah. Bless Abraham, bless Jacob, son of Abraham and Sarah. Jacob, the name that you have chosen for yourself, who has cast his lot with our people Israel. You are a true proselyte among the people of God, of Abraham and Sarah. May you prosper in all your worthy endeavors. May the work of your hands and your heart always be blessed. And let us join together in saying, Amen. We ask you please to join us as we offer our thanks. We offer words of Shehechianu, of thanksgiving for allowing us to reach this season, sustaining us to this moment, and we are thrilled that you are formally joining us. Mazel tov.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We aspire to gather the best of what we have, the most that we can offer as we turn our prayers, our hearts, our thoughts to those who are struggling, those who for weakness of body, weakness of spirit, need our prayers. We say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et acholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and give strength to those who are struggling. This evening we are holding in prayer James Boyle, Barb DeCario, Thomas DiMatteo, Mark Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, Yeshaya Idel Ben Gittel, Dennis Goldsmith, Ira Coleman, Abby Kohat, Karen Jacobson, Marty Jacobson, Dorothy Jacobson, Shana Esther Bat Ruchel, Moshe Ben Leah, Chaya Sivya Bat Abraham Vidvora, Lori Conway, Howard Itkin, Jonathan Behrman, Chris Sura, Scott Rosenfeld, Joel Shamaskin, Stephen Rosenfeld, Joel Goldman, Avraham Ben Tehila, Olga Buzo, Nechama Bat Riba Leah, Yona Gavriel Ben Sarah Baruch, and Kelsey DeSchreiber. If there are others whom you would add to this list for healing, for wholeness, for strength, or names better spoken aloud by you, please, as I look your way, would you share that name with us? May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God send them renewal of body and renewal of spirit as we join together in saying, Amen. Page 371, please join us. We were very fortunate for those who were with us during the month of February. We had an extraordinary month of speakers and learning around disability and inclusion and awareness. And one of those evenings, the guest speaker who was supposed to join us wasn't able to, and we didn't want to miss the opportunity to have that speaker, to have a speaker from that organization, from NAMI, from the National Alliance of Mental Illness, to join us for us to learn more. And I invite Joel Shamaskin, chair of our Inclusion and Accessibility Committee, to introduce our speaker, Jerome Stiller.
Thank you, Rabbi Till, and we're glad we were able to reschedule this talk. It was a great month, and the talk on mental illness was rescheduled for tonight. We're fortunate to have Jerome Stiller, who works with the Rochester chapter of the NAMI organization here. Jerome does outreach and speaking in the community, and we're happy to have him here to help us learn about that topic as we all learn more about various disabilities. So, Jerome, welcome.
Well, hi, I've been here lots of times before, both up on the bima and in the congregation. Never ever thought I'd be here for this, that's for sure. And it's kind of an interesting coincidence that brings me here tonight as well, the evening before the Mendler's wonderful occurrence. But I've got something to talk about that's pretty serious. First, I'm going to talk about NAMI a little bit, just so that you know what it is. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, obviously a national organization with all kinds of international connections. What NAMI provides is education, outreach, and very importantly, support services for not just people with mental illnesses, but for their families, for their caregivers, for their loved ones. Everything that NAMI provides is completely free of charge. They're an incredible community resource. If you have a mental illness, if you know someone who has a mental illness, if one of your loved ones has a mental illness, I urge you to reach out to them. I can help provide contact information for them. The program that I'm here with, it's actually two. One is called In Our Own Voices, where people with mental illnesses stand up and speak about their illness, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm not going to talk to you about mental illnesses. I'm going to talk to you about my mental illness. So I'm also here with the Ending the Silence program. And that's part of it too. That's kind of why I was invited to be here this evening, why NAMI was invited to be here. Mental illness is really hard to talk about. Most people would prefer not to talk about it. And I'm here to talk about it, and I'm going to talk very kind of clearly and distinctly about my experience with it. So again, I encourage you to reach out to NAMI. So I have, my diagnosis is major recurrent depression, either moderate, severe, or in partial remission, depending on how I'm doing that particular day. And for those of you who are physicians and so forth, yeah, I know all the DSM and the ISO numbers by heart, backwards and forwards. Before I tell you about my experience, though, my guess is that there's other people sitting here who may have some sort of mental illness, maybe like mine, maybe not. And I just want to give you a quick shout out, okay? So, for example, if there's anyone here with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, you're probably the people that got here really early, you're dressed really nicely, and yes, you locked the front door, okay? If you have paranoia, no one here is out to get you. Not really. If you have schizophrenia, this is my voice, not the voices within your head. Okay, so I just wanted to be clear about that. If you have narcissistic personality disorder, yes, this is all about you, as it should be. And lastly, if you have social anxiety disorder, you're probably not here tonight. Okay, I take antidepressants. Every day. I took my antidepressants this morning. I took them yesterday morning. I'm going to take them tomorrow morning. I'm probably going to take them the rest of my life. So now we got that out of the way. I have the kind of mental illness that you hardly ever notice. It can be all around you, and you might not notice it. People with depression tend to suffer quietly. We're really good at hiding in plain sight. We don't want you to see us. We don't want you to know about us. So we just sit and suffer. I've never been hospitalized for my illness. I don't have those kind of overt symptoms, or haven't had them. But frankly, sometimes I wish that I did, as awful as that sounds. I wish that I had some sort of overt symptoms so everyone could see what I'm going through. And sometimes I wish that I was hospitalized. I wish that I could stop everything and go somewhere and have people take care of me. However, if you've ever had any kind of psychiatric, especially inpatient experience, you don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that. So, what's it like to have depression? I'm going to tell you all about it. First, I'm going to give you kind of a dictionary definition of depression. Major depression is a debilitating illness. Boy, is it ever debilitating. It usually reoccurs throughout a person's lifetime. Yeah, it reoccurs. Don't go away. Symptoms include fatigue, lack of focus, changes in appetite, and thoughts of suicide. So that's the common psychological definition of depression. But I think it's very illustrative to look at depression, to look at the word depressed. What does depressed mean? Depressed. Depressed down. And that's the root word. It comes from the Latin deprimere, to press down. And so what the dictionary says about that is depression suffering the damaging effects of a lack of demand or employment, weak, weakened, debilitated, devitalized, impaired. Devitalized, devoid of life, of vitality. In a physically lower position, being pushed or forced down. And that's very much my experience. I often use the word crushing to describe it. It feels like a crushing weight. Now, I don't generally look or act like the stereotypical depressed person. You don't see me sitting in a corner, right? Or what you might think of a depressed person acts like. But I've really become an expert at hiding my true self away. I have both the blessing and the curse of being a very high-functioning person with a mental illness. It's a blessing because I go through my life, right? I get through life. I go to work in the morning. I can hold a job sometimes. Sometimes my depression has gotten in the way of my employment. But I can generally get up in the morning. I can put my clothes on. I can go to work. I can lead what may look like a normal life. And not everyone with mental illness can do that. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. It's also somewhat unfortunate because I really do wish you'd see me for who I am. I really wish I wasn't so high functioning. I wish I looked a little more sick. Because I think people would respond to me more. So my experience of being depressed, I feel defective. I feel like I'm broken. And truly broken unto my soul. I feel exhausted in terms of being depleted of resources. I've got nothing. I feel ashamed of myself, deeply ashamed of myself. I shouldn't feel this way, and I'm a bad person for feeling this way. And I can't think straight. I can't concentrate. I don't make good decisions. Often I'm plagued by indecision. The world is just too much for me. And I feel really disconnected. That's one of the most overwhelming feelings. Even with people I love, who I know, family, some of whom are here tonight, my friends, some of whom are here tonight, I know that they care about me, but I feel completely disconnected. So you know that scene in a lot of movies where you see it from the protagonist's point of view, where something happens and everything starts to recede, right? Everything starts to recede in the background and all the voices go dim. I have that experience. I can be in a room full of people, not you guys tonight, fortunately, but I can be in a room full of people and I just feel like everyone else is completely away from me. And I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't belong here. I don't want to be here. I'm terrified you're going to think I'm a loser. And the funny thing is, I am desperate for human contact. I really am. I'm just desperate. I would love the comforting touch of a girlfriend or of a lover. But I really believe, who wants me, really? Who wants to be with this? Who wants to be with this broken person? For many years, I engaged in quite a bit of substance abuse and had many, many, many very casual relationships because they worked. That works. When I feel this bad, what's something that works to help me escape? Substances, alcohol, meaningless experiences. For that moment, in that moment, that works really well. It's great. Okay? Does it really work? Does it help? Of course not. But it's really hard not to reach for that. It's a struggle not to reach for that. Because I know when I can't feel any worse, this will make me feel better, if only for this evening. But I'm pretty good about that. Pretty good about staying away. Now, I don't know how or why I got depression. I have depression. It's not like something happened. I think I've always had it. I think that the longest I've ever gone without having a depressive episode, I think it's a couple of weeks. I think that's the longest I've ever gone in my entire life. And that's why, for me, depression is my normal, and happiness is the exception. In fact, when I do have any period of happiness, it scares me, because I'm worried that I'm delusional. I'm worried that what I'm feeling right now is not real, it's ephemeral, it's wrong, because I'm really not used to it. And I'm angry. I am really angry. How did this happen to me? Why me? Why do I have to live with this? I'm angry about that. Okay, that's my experience of depression. I'm going to talk a little about the stigma of depression. I'm going to give you kind of a point of view that you may not be aware of at all. So I'm going to take one of the worst illnesses there is, okay? Terrible, terrible, terrible illness. And I'm going to take depression, and I want to contrast what it's like to live with each of these illnesses. Now, I'm not trying to compare the illnesses at all. Of course not. But I'm going to compare for you what it's like to live with depression and what it's like to live with cancer. Okay? Reason number one why it's so hard to live with depression. If you have cancer, people generally know and they care if you have cancer. Okay? You find out someone has cancer, you say, oh, did you hear Shirley has cancer? That's terrible. What can we do? You don't say, oh my God, did you hear that Jerome has been in bed for 4 days? Boy, what can we do? You look the same, but you're not the same. People don't blame you if you have cancer. Right? People don't say, what's the matter with you? How did you do that to yourself? People blame you if you have depression. You don't blame yourself if you have cancer. Why did I do this to myself? What's wrong with me? You have a terrible disease. You didn't do anything to deserve it. But you blame yourself if you have depression. Nobody ever tells you to just get over cancer. But people tell you to just get over depression. Get lots of sympathy if you get cancer. As awful as that is, people come forth. They want to help you. You have fundraisers. You have parades. You have T-shirts. You've got wristbands. Okay? There's no T-shirts for depression. There's no parades. There's no wristbands. Even if you have a terrible, deadly cancer and you're in pain all the time, you still have the ability to enjoy some things. In fact, you might even enjoy them more. You might say, I'm going to really savor this chocolate cream pie because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. When you have depression, you can't enjoy anything. All of the things that you could more normally enjoy, you don't enjoy. If you have cancer, you often become closer to the people around you. You value them even more, and maybe you even go and you make reparations. Okay? You get closer to someone who you're estranged from because you realize how precious life is and how important your relationships are. If you have depression, you just get further away from people. If you have cancer, people totally understand that you can't get out of bed in the morning and that you can't take care of yourself. If you have depression, people do not understand that I could not get out of bed today. That was not available to me. If you have cancer, you are often praised as a brave warrior fighting a battle. You're a hero. If you have depression, you're a pathetic loser. Nobody ever comes up to you and says, I so admire you that you're strong enough to live through today. Nobody ever says that to you. So that's to give you an idea of just some of the societal stigma. And by talking about it, we hope to lessen that stigma. So let me give you a few do's and don'ts too. This is my list of do's and don'ts when I'm having a depressive episode, what I want you to do, what I don't want you to do. And I think this works both individually and as a congregation as well. What I don't want you to do, I don't want you to tell me you know how I feel. Okay? unless you've spent weeks and weeks and weeks where your biggest success is getting out of bed in the morning or doing the dishes, where you feel worthless and miserable and hopeless, and that keeps coming back month after month after month. And that happens to you not because your boss is an idiot or your wife left you or you're in financial trouble. It happens because you are just there. Unless you felt that, you do not know how I feel. And if you tell me you know how I feel, it just makes me feel even further away. Don't ask me to explain. Tell me what's going on with you. Okay, this is a very well-meaning question. You're showing that you care. I can't explain. I can't tell you in any way that you're going to understand. I can't tell you what I want you to do for me. But I want you to do something. Don't tell me what you think I should do, please. Okay? I know what I should do. It's not through lack of skills or understanding or knowledge. I know I should get my butt out of bed. Okay? I know I should go to the gym. I know I should do the dishes. I know I should call back my sister who called me 2 weeks ago and I haven't wanted to call her back. I know I should do those things. But I don't. I can't. Don't tell me what you think I should do. Most importantly, don't take my depression personally. You didn't cause it. You're not going to fix it. It's not about you. Okay? All right. Here's what I want you to do. And again, these are things that I think you could approach and have this conversation as a congregation. Let me know it's okay to tell you how I feel. Let me know that it's really okay to say, I'm having a really bad depressive episode today, and I feel horrible, and I feel worthless. You don't have to agree with me, but let me know that it's okay and keep letting me know. Don't stop. Ask me to do something with you. Don't be too surprised if I say, no, I'm fine, I don't want to go. Maybe even just take me by the hand. And my favorite, take me out for ice cream. Okay? That's something that pretty much always works. And one of the times, very specifically, I was really depressed and I couldn't do anything and I hadn't been out of doors in about 2 days. And my sister said, let's go out for ice cream. And at first I said no. She said, come on, let's go. I said, okay. And that was really nice. That was really nice. I felt a little bit of happiness then. Lastly, remind me that I'm a good person, because I've forgotten. Okay? Remind me that I've done good things in my life, that I've helped people, because I've forgotten all of that. I'm convinced it's not true. Tell me you're glad that I'm your brother or your uncle or your son or your friend. Tell me you're glad that I'm in the world, because I've forgotten all of that stuff. And I've been thinking a little bit about inclusion, and especially in a faith-based community. What might that mean? And faith, a big aspect of faith, maybe synonymous with faith, is hope, belief in a better future. And I thought about, at the Passover Seder, every year when we say next year in Jerusalem, well, I don't think necessarily that's about actually having a Seder in Eretz Yisrael. I think it's about next year we should be in a better place than we're in today. Whatever that means, okay? That's hope. That's something that you folks can help provide. Compassion. Compassion's a tough one. It really is. But if that's not what we're here for, if that's not why we're part of a faith community, if compassion and kindness to our fellow human beings is not the very most central piece of that, then I don't know what is. So let me leave you with just 3 more thoughts. One is, if you know someone with mental illness, don't be scared, please. I know it can be really frightening. It's hard to understand. It can be confusing. But don't be scared. Be there. Be present. Don't go away. I want to read you a quote. I don't know where I got this from, but I love it. It is in the darkest moments that friends can become angels and angels become lifesavers. Be a lifesaver. You have a choice at some point in your life to be a lifesaver. Give the gift of acceptance, help, encouragement, and presence, especially presence. Just be there. And lastly, if you have depression, if you have a mental illness, or if you know someone who has a mental illness, I want to promise you, right here, right now, I want to promise each and every one of you that it can and does get better. I got better. So, thank you very much for letting me tell my story tonight. Mental illness, it's like mushrooms. It thrives in the darkness, okay? If you can pull it out into the light, that lessens the power of the illness and increases the power of the person. So thanks again for being part of that.
We are thankful, Jerome, that you help us deepen our understanding, help us broaden our capacity, that double portion of our soul that is meant for double the joy doesn't rest in irony with the words that you spoke. That double portion of our soul isn't merely for our pleasure, but ideally for us to move out into the world and to do something of worth with it. So thank you for opening up even more broadly that capacity for us. Also, if you have any questions about NAMI, about the National Alliance for Mental Illness, please be in touch with Jerome. I hope you'll be with us at the end of services. You can also speak with Joel Shamaskin, who can help connect you after services as well. And you can speak to any of the three of us as clergy as well. If you're able, please, we invite you to join us as we turn to our concluding prayers, the Elenu, and we rise on page 586. Pause now as we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. During the period of Shloshim, these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Laura Feldman, mother of Jeff Feldman, Jeffrey Ring, father of Lori Weiss, Marcia Gerwitz, mother of Alan Gerwitz, Roddy Katz, mother of Rabbi Alan Katz, and Lori Gilbert Kay of Chabad of Poway. This marks a yahrzeit and anniversary of passing for Abraham D. Abrams, Charles Ash, Horace Becker, Betty Benjamin, Jenny Burson, Neil Bogardus, Betty Brown, Helen Kramer, Frank Donsky, Shirley Feinstein, Howard Feinstein, Bessie Fenster, Adele Goldstein, Bernard Golub, Jerry Greenfield, Sanford H. Jacobson, Henry Katz, Lev Katz, Rivka Cannell, Samuel Leonard, Abraham A. Liff, Rosemary Molzer, Evelyn Paulin, Warren Prowlix Sr., Lloyd Rellin, Sharon Rosa, Zlata Reuser, Jeffrey Rubel, David Schneider, Ernest Smetana, Bessie Snyder, William Waddell Sr., Kenneth Weaver, Milton Wittenberg, and Joseph Wojciechowski. If there are other names that you would add to either list or names better spoken aloud by you, please, as I look your way, would you share those names with us? Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing as we join together with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalah v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. V'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach shmei kedusha v'rigu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbekata v'nechmata da'amiran v'yamla v'yimru amen. Yehei shema Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all who are mourning, to all Israel, as we join together in saying, Amen. Please be seated. A few brief announcements before we conclude. We want to wish an early Mazel Tov to the Mendler family and best wishes to Ava and Caleb tomorrow morning as they become B'nai Mitzvah. We want to wish a Mazel Tov to Adam DeShriver and to his family and his family of friends as well as he formally joins our community and takes his place in the Jewish community. We want to remind you that we have our last day of religious school on Sunday. I know there are lots of sad eyes over there. The last day of religious school on Sunday. And to remind you just before that tomorrow that we have our study of the book of Jeremiah at 9:15 preceding our Shabbat services at 10:30. We want to thank our greeter this evening, Blanche Fenster. Give a wave. If you have any questions, please be sure to ask Blanche, our president. And we also want to give a mazel tov to the whole extended Mendler family as they are headed into their wonderful weekend. Any announcements that we should know from you? Any joys, any successes, any accomplishments, anything that we should know from you? We know from you, and we know from you. Okay. Please would you join us as we have the 5 Mendlers join us on the bima for Motzi as we give thanks for that which sustains and nourishes us, that of which you can partake. Gotta take the cover off. We continue with our closing song, which can be found on page 647. Over there you will find the words to Oseh Shalom.
Shalom.
closing benediction, would you kindly rise? Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we say, Ani ve'ata nishane et ha'olam, ani ve'ata az yavo kvar kulam. You and I will change the world, you and I, and then all will join us. Shabbat Shalom.
How are you? Big Dave.
Did you get outside today? Right. There it is. That's a reason to have
That's what I usually say. This one, I did. They gave us freedom to like order the like in terms of like waking up. That was.
I haven't finished cleaning up my office, but
boxes.
It actually kind of helps do like a few prayers tonight. And then,
Do I know the little nervous?
yeah, it's amazing.
What did I tell you? It's just our Shabbat student. Hillel of Rochester, Bar, is doing to connect with our students.
No. First of all, I think he just started doing that. And secondly, there was one talk he was supposed to, that he told me about, but he just called, like, when we canceled the other stuff we were supposed to do to be here. And I just am blown away.
Well, he's got such a natural way of delivering his great.
So my mother said, when people hear all of it, I want to read his speeches, and mother didn't have a speech. He had notes, but there's no way that he had a speech because you can't have a speech if you're talking from your heart. So, what a gift. And how brave. Oh my God.
I'm glad he was the one.
Yeah, thank you.
Success rate getting all the way through potentially lower than you want. You know, it's been a while since I've written, but advocacy I haven't had a need reference to all
I know, I heard you guys
With a little hearing I have, I said, hold on.
I'm the lover.
Alright, well, you should be very proud of
I know. Okay, so call me and...
I will. Something else.
Okay.
All right.
We're doing it around the plate at 7:30. Oh, really? No, we're not late yet.
I said, I think you